So, Laurence Llewelyn-Bowen, welcome to Bex's Laundrette. Let's get straight on the subject of airing one's dirty laundry. Now, I hear there's a bit of a family reality show in the making.
I mean, I think it's more like surreality. It's following us as we all, turn into lobsters and put bowler hats on our heads the wrong way around. We are, yeah. No, so I mean, it's a big and very iconic year at Chateau LLB. We're doing all sorts of work in the house, and we are expecting grandchild. Actually, it's going to be grand girl number 4. And Jackie and I are really basically getting ourselves booted and spurred to welcome in our 60th year. 30 years on television, for goodness sake, as well. And we are very much enjoying being followed by various camera crews as work carries on. There's also a bit of a moment for me. I'm looking at really re-engaging with my former incarnation as a fine artist. And moving forward with really focusing on painting. That daughter Hermione, will be looking at pushing the business forward, and one of my son-in-laws, Dan, is really looking at our license business. So basically, I'm sort of looking at kind of gentlemanly retirement, but retirement that requires an awful lot of linseed oil.
What are we going to get to see on this show that we might not know about you already? We're going to see you in your pants, in your tracksuit.
No. Pants on top of my tweed suit, yes. It's it's a very. I mean, of course, we did a very successful show when we first moved here to the country. To the Manor Bone was quite the thing back in 2008. So I think this is something that I think people are going to quite enjoy as a bit of an update. Here we are still in the same house. We're looking at doing all sorts of work in the house to basically reconfigure the way that we live, so that the 3 households, that's me and Jackie, and then it's Cecile and Dan and their children, and Hermione and Drew and their children. Each of us have our own space in what can only be described as a little manor house on the prairie, or more like a cult. But I think it's something that I think more and more people should be doing. In fact, that I think this is something that the broadcasters are very excited about, that actually for us boomers as an aging population, we're all slightly surprised that we made it to 60. I think everyone thought we would live fast and die young. Rather than live very, very slowly and die really quite old and incontinent. So, kind of reconfiguring the rock and roll generation, the post-punk generation, for old age has become something of a mission for me and the missus. And we certainly aren't kind of sliding into our 60th year with a kind of sense of beigedom calling. But at the same time, we want to use the time that we've got left wisely and valuably. And funnily enough, design plays a big part on that. I think the way that you design your world really does help the way that you feel. And now we've got our sort of big echoey manor house full of life and children and really irritating brightly coloured bits of plastic and Peppa Pig again. Well.
Now, I know that art, family, creativity, all of that is very much the forefront of the premise of this show. But is there anything, because people are really selling the ins and outs of their life at the minute, is there anything at all you just wouldn't do on camera, out of bounds?
Genuinely, no. I am absolutely shameless. And I've always been cursed with balls of brass. So, if I felt in any way it was efficacious or perhaps, entertaining or indeed, educational. And of course, educational could mean absolutely anything in terms of biology, chemistry, whatever you feel, history of art. But no, I mean, I've always I've always really very much felt that television is the sort of medium where the more relaxed, the more laid back you are with it, the better it treats you. I think that one of the problems with certainly the kind of the new generation of television stars is the fact that people are so sort of het up about it. They're so concerned about what people are saying about them. They are constantly looking at social media and panicking because they're not liked enough.
I'm kind of surprised you've had a lifetime in TV and you've never really had, apart from your odd row with Carol Smiley or whatever, you've never really had anything too scandalous happen.
Well, the thing is that I've always been super genuinely honest with what I do, how I do it, and who I am. And I think that probably various times, particularly in the beginning, was perturbed people somewhat, because I think certainly back in the back in the 90s, the perception was that you were orange and smiley and nice to everybody. I've always felt that I've got a job to do on television, which is to make over or make under or make worse someone's room, whichever way you look at it. And that, I do that side of it. And it is filmed, and that is how it is. And so I think I've never really felt that I needed to manipulate who I am and manipulate how people see me. I think it is, genuine. I think I'm extremely lucky that I haven't ever really been super bothered in my life about what other people think about me. I mean, I will always listen, and I think that is quite important. Yeah. I will always listen to people slag me off, and in fact, I really quite enjoy it. When Changing Rooms came back as a reboot, I used to love lying in the bath and looking at all the trolls saying the most awful things, and every now and again I sort of pounce back. But in a funny sort of way, I think people need to understand that if you are going to be on television, if you're going to be known, if you're going to be a celebrity, it means that you're sort of stepping into a strange place, a kind of a carnival sideshow, a hall of mirrors, where you are reflected from all sorts of crazy angles. And I think the big thing that everyone needs to understand is that there's a gulf between being famous and being popular. If you want to be on television to be popular, I think that's completely the wrong context for you. Actually, particularly these days, television is there to show every single last little bit of you. Sadly, thanks to high definition, back in the old days with the old-fashioned televisions, everyone looked like a god. I looked amazing. But now in a high definition, I look like a 60-year-old bloke that lives in the country that doesn't really take enough care of his skincare routine, which again is the frankness and the honesty behind what's going on. So I think the thing is that actually, I feel that television is an element let's go further. I think fame or celebrity is an element of what I do, which gives me an opportunity to talk about stuff that interests me, talk about stuff that I like, talk about the mechanics of why I like it. And I like the idea that people are then inspired by, that and what I'm saying and what I'm doing to then make up their own mind about stuff. I've never been, keen to be famous, to be, celebrated. It's one of these things that, when everyone's so desperate to be famous, everyone's so desperate to be celebrated. The one that kind of doesn't really, it's like, okay, well, if I must, that becomes fresh, weirdly. And it's odd to think of a 60-year-old being fresh.
Look, it happens. I mean, especially with all the Botox that's going around these days. You had a little slice and dice. What's gone on there?
I mean, having said that, though, I mean, the only plastic surgery I'd ever countenance is, and apparently it's impossible. I have asked surgeons. I would really like a tail, but it's not something that they can do very easily. I'm not bothered about what this is doing, but I would love a nice, big, bushy, foxy tail, which could come out of a sort of an embroidered slot in my trousers, and would give people a good indication of my state of mind as I went about my business, really.
I don't even know if you're asking me to say something blue right now. I mean, you've got the tail at the front. Do you need the tail at the back as well? I don't know.
Balance.
We're going to get there.
Balance. Obvious balance.
Innovative. I mean, have you had any inspiration from the Kardashians?
That Kardashian lot are absolutely extraordinary. I have never seen such unbelievably low self-esteem interior decoration in my life. We actually had their production company very keen on having some lunches with us about whether we would probably work together, but I wasn't into it. I mean, the whole thing is just so beige. I mean, it's marvelous. I mean, there they are. They're very kind of ordinary human beings, and they've managed to elevate themselves to the Olympus of celebrity. And I only hope it makes them happy. But do you know what? They never look happy, do they? When was the last time you saw a Kardashian smile? Maybe they crack. Maybe if they smile, a bit falls off or something. I don't know. The thing is, there you go. You've got the Kardashians in wherever they are. You've got the Llewelyn-Bowens and the Cotswolds. We're more like the Cash Cardigans because obviously it's the Cotswolds and knitwear has to be involved. We're sort of much more, much more down to earth in many ways. But I think, I think this is one of the things, and this is another. Reality shows are something I think you need to be, you need to be capable of being very real in. And I think that this is something that we have said right from the outset, and I know that this is absolutely a fan to you who are producing it. I think are constantly surprised by how honest absolutely every single one of us is, right down to grandchildren and spaniels. You ask us a question, we're going to just tell you the answer as we see it. We're not, we don't have PR people breathing down our shoulder, breathing over our shoulder, sort of suggesting that we do this or manipulate that. And actually, it is very much us getting up to what we're getting up to, and teams of builders arriving, knocking the merry hell out of the house, and Jackie's cooking chicken casserole. What can I say? In the meanwhile, we've got several grandchildren hitting each over the head with plastic reproductions of Peppa Pig. Real life. That is it. That is reality.
I mean, there is a beauty in that.
There's a simple beauty, a simple abundance in that, isn't there? Yeah.
There is indeed. And I know from personal experience that, you obviously have this carefully constructed persona where you're trotting around houses and lumping your MDF and block wallpaper around. But, you do swear, you do have a bit of a blue side.
Oh, listen, and again, I mean, it's interesting you say carefully constructed. I mean, I think the thing is, actually a better term is edited, carefully edited, and that editing's not by me. I get on with it. And I think this is something that I think people are always a bit surprised about when, they work with me for the first time on television, is that as far as I'm concerned, when the camera goes on, anything I say, anything I do, that's it. It's up to you to decide whether, the public can cope with me using language of that particular timbre, or whether the world can cope with me painting that living room that colour. But I mean, actually, I'm going to do it, and you're going to film it, and let's see where we are. And again, so this is the thing about this reality series, is that actually we're doing all of this anyway. This is literally our life. This is exactly our life, and this is exactly what's happening. As part of our 60th year for me and Jack. We've been married for 35 years next year. All of this is just there. This is what is happening. I mean, it's not as if Hermione got pregnant specially for the program, but there are cameras all over the place just picking it up. And I think, again, it's been a long time since reality had that reality. I think that the majority of reality on television has become constructed reality, because I think most people are too damn frightened to just be who they are. Whereas we really aren't. We are those irritating old people that say absolutely everything they want to say. We're a whole family of Karens, and we're just going to get on and do our thing.
Yeah, Ting. Wow, you went there with Ting. That is, wow. Okay.
That was lit. That was
You're
well
so
lit.
Right now, it's unreal. You do have a lot of famous friends. You're even friends with King Charles. I'm imagining.
Haven't seen him since the coronation. I think he might be cold shouldering me. I was a bit rude about his purple pajamas, and I'm not sure. I think I've just lost the knighthood. So in fact, we actually did get a letter from him years ago. We got a letter from him. I was showing Albion, and I was showing him the letter from when King Charles was the Prince of Wales, and he was very unimpressed with his handwriting. I like that. Forget all the sort of the seal and the flunkied and the genuine. This is a historical document. Yeah. Didn't like his handwriting. Thought it was very messy.
I mean,
I reckon if King Charles hadn't been King Charles, he probably would have been a GP. Because as far as I'm concerned, that letter could be saying 50 grams of diazepam. It could be anything, and an enema.
Okay, so the friendship's done. There's going to be none of that.
I don't know. I mean, I'm going to sort of, let's see what happens around Christmas. If we get the Christmas card, I know I'm back in the fold.
Yeah. Okay.
But at the moment, I think the purple pajamas jibe was, although I think still totally justified. I'm not backing down on that one. Wrong shade of purple. Now, only I would say that. They were Pantene 739. They need to be Pantene 742. No, I just think I think the thing is the crown was amazing. The whole thing, lovely, 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 lovely. But I think just maybe a suit would have been better. Westminster Abbey is just very, very overlit. I think it looks like an old people's home, It looks like someone's left the fluorescent lights on. It's like the cleaners have left the lights on. And actually, what it needs to be beautiful and romantic and kind of candlelit and powerful and timeless and ageless. And at the moment, there's something of the mall to it. It just looks a little bit too retail park. So who knows? I mean, if I'm still around for the next royal engagement, please can we turn the lights down a bit? Anyway, as a creative curator of the Blackpool Illuminations, I think I should be involved. I think we need, we need a bit more Blackpool in the coronation, don't you? I think so. Oh my God,
I'm going to get
definitely.
straight on the blower afterwards and say, look, the king.
I know. Yeah, this is the palace. We've decided that you were right. We're going for more Blackpool.
Stranger things have happened. Now, look, we have discussed cancel culture escaping you so far. This might have undone all that. But if your phone got into the wrong hands, because this is always my greatest fear, if someone wants to see WhatsApps, your photos, how bad would it be?
My telephone is always absolutely there for anyone to look at any moment. I mean, it's everything in the same way that my life is. There are various people in my organisation who are absolutely appalled by this. But I can't. For me, there is nothing sensitive. I mean, there might even be compromising. Well, not even compromising, but just sort of relatively naughty photographs on that. Who knows? I don't know. I can't. I mean, my telephone is such a blank to me. I don't even know how it works. So it doesn't have things like all my banking details and all that kind of stuff on it, and it doesn't have loads and loads and loads of celebrity mates' telephone numbers. There is nothing I think on there that would in any way delight anyone unless they were looking for next season's duvet collection. So let's make sure it never falls into the hands of Linda Barker or Kelly Hoppen. But other than that, it's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, this is savage. Now, look, we've got to keep on this laundry theme. Has there ever been any sort of stain on your character?
Well, I mean, there are plenty of people out there that suggest that my character starts off as unbelievably stained anyway, more stained than the Turin Shroud. Because, yes, you look at who I am and how I do things and what I say and what I wear and how I behave. And it's not in the kind of canon of niceness, politeness, grown-upness, how you're supposed to be when you're an old fellow, all that kind of stuff. And that's cool. And I'm not apologetic about anything that I am or I've done, because if there's something I think I could have done better, I will then try and do it a bit better. But I think you need to. Everyone needs to be a lot more subtle and a lot more nimble about deciding about morality, about what they believe is right, what they believe is wrong. At the moment, there's a very, very kind of orthodox sense of you can't say this, you can't do that, you should be one thing, you should be another thing. And I think everybody needs to actually work out whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But before you start sort of herding me into the same style as Lawrence Fox, I would also say that I'm absolutely passionate about the fact that you should never be horrid to people. You should never be actively rude to people. If someone holds a very, very strongly held belief, if someone wants to be referred to in a very specific way, I think you should go out of your way to actually help them with that. I don't think your beliefs or your feelings should be something that you then use to drive a tractor through other people's lives at all. Other people's decorating, perhaps. Other people's, spurious interior design. Other people's beige, yes. But no, I think I remain unrepentant.
Well, that's fair enough. Look, on a more uplifting note, what gets you in a spin these days? What is the thing that drives you wild, gets you excited?
Well, I mean, obviously, other than Whiskers on Kittens and Mrs. Llewelyn-Bowen in Lace and Little Else, actually, I don't know. I mean, it's
You're a randy man.
Isn't the world fun? I mean, isn't life fun? I mean, I know it doesn't feel that way, but actually, one of the nice things about living in the country is no matter how appalling everything feels, actually, you just look out of the window or you go for a bit of a walk and there's a tree with some birds, and there's a fox or a fern or something. And actually, you get a sense of continuity, you get a sense of, a much bigger understanding than just all your own little worries and all your own little gripes. And even though everything feels terribly grim, actually, for most generations since the beginning of time, there have been moments in their lives when the world has felt grim. But they work hard, you work hard, the world works hard to put everything back onto a bit of an even keel. We're going through a bad patch at the moment. Everybody's going through a bad patch at the moment. Actually, that should be bringing us together, I think, a lot more. We will get through it. I mean, it is that absolutely beautiful, most incredibly subtle, absolutely poetic piece of prose, which is that this, like all things, will change. And that was a statement that was created to get you to understand that good stuff goes, as does bad stuff. You can be willing the bad stuff to move on and turn into good, but then actually it will also mean that the good stuff will move on and turn into bad. So just deal with it. After summer comes autumn, after autumn comes winter, and after winter comes a lot of gin, and that's fine.
Well, we can't ask for more. And what a lovely, lovely way to end things. And I think just looking over there,
I have
it looks
that
like
tattooed on my butt, by the way, which is handy because there's
I
plenty
hope
of room.
to see that in episode 1. I hope to see that.
I will have a word with the producers. Let's see whether the world is ready.
Well, it might have to go after 10 p.m. now. We just have to see what we can. But as I was saying, it looks like your cycle's finished over there. So you better pick up your smalls and be on your way to end this laundrette theme.